hell is not because you committed sin. Hell is a consequence of the sin you commit that your father told you, if you do it, you will end up here. And then there is a choice.
Imagine a white guy like Netanyahu living in Israel 2,000 years ago. You know how scorched the weather was then. We can see by history and all that.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy, the Crackhead, wishing you all a wonderful day and welcome to yet another session of the epic Woota Made Me Ask. Today, all the way from South Africa, howbeit in Nigeria, we have here a black Hitler. Maybe you didn't hear me. We have a black Hitler with us, all the way from South Africa, even though he's a Nigerian. We've all heard about Black Jesus, so he is Black Hitler. His name is Olanrewaju Oluwaseun, and please, Black Hitler, there's something I want you to understand. You are on Woota Made Me Ask, meaning that whatever you will be saying here and would be answering here would be honest and truth, because Woota knows everything and sees everything.
Okay.
We're not here to debate, but just to understand why certain people harbor the feelings they harbor about Israel. My intention to understand them doesn't actually mean that I agree with them and with everything they say. So before we get started, please, Olanrewaju, can you kindly introduce yourself to us?
Hi, everyone. My name is Olanrewaju Ugwemi. I'm a Nigerian. I reside in South Africa. I've been here for quite some time, almost 16 years thereabout. I usually go home like twice in a year or once in a year. Depends. Family here, and yeah, that's it. I don't know how else you want me to. Am I fine with that introduction?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. That was wonderful and nice. In a nutshell, you have at least introduced yourself to us. Okay. I have, before we get started, please, I want to say that whatever you will be saying here and whatever you will be answering here would be based on your own personal feelings, theories, ideologies, and you will not cite reference to any media, to any newspaper, to any publication. Why? Because after all, what we say on this page to you and to people who have the same sentiment as you think they are propaganda and they are lies. Okay? So if you do not believe the news that is coming out from our end, so do not give us news from what you hear. So whatever you're going to be saying here will be based on your own personal feelings, ideologies, and theories. Okay? But however, let me tell you guys why we have a Black Hitler today. For those of you,
Stop calling me that.
by the way, I want to even ask you one question, self, before we even get started. Are you in
Okay.
support? Are you in support of what Hitler did to the Jews in the Holocaust?
No, I will never be in support of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the reason he's here is because to those of you our followers, you probably know him. You've seen most of his comments on our page, especially when we talk about Israel during the war about between Israel and Iran, and the comments he made. Yes, on this page, we are not looking for people who agree to everything we say or everything we put across. You can also have your own opinion. However, when opinion turns into hate, that's something else. And I want to understand where it comes from, because the reason you are here is because I decided for the first time, let me check your page and see, what is going on in this guy's page, what he's doing. And when I went to his page, bro, not just about, I think you have a problem with Israel, you have a problem with Christianity, and you have a problem with the West. That is what I've noticed on your
you
page,
think so?
and it's serious. That's why Woota told me, me and Woota, we are one. So that was why Woota told me to invite you because he's curious. He wants to know what is going on with his son. So before we get started, I have questions I want to ask you that will lead to you telling us, why you feel the way you feel about the state of Israel. Have you ever visited Israel before?
No, but I have families, I have friends and brothers there.
In Israel?
Yes, I have about 4 or 5 close allies there.
Like when you say allies, they are your friends.
Yes, friends and relatives.
And you never for once planned or thought to visit Israel.
No, I would love to. Definitely, like perhaps soon. I would love to, but I would love to, obviously.
And you think after everything you've posted and talked about Israel, they will let you enter this country?
It's fine if they don't let me. It's not heaven, obviously. Israel is not heaven. In as much as I don't believe in heaven, it's not like the best place to be on earth.
And apart from Israel, have you ever visited any Arab nation?
Yes, I've been to Egypt. I've been to Libya years back. I spent by the road to Libya. Long time ago, almost 26 or 7 years ago. I've been to Egypt as well.
Okay.
I think those are the two Arab countries I've been to.
Have you ever
Yeah,
visited
aside from
Have you ever visited Iran?
no, but I've read a lot about Iran and Israel.
Remember,
First
we
of all,
said you are
let me
not bringing
clarify you.
forth what you read. 1 second. You are not telling us
No,
what you
let,
read. You're telling us what
let
you
me
feel.
clarify you. Let me clarify you. I'm a student of history and diplomatic study. I'm a product of University of Port Harcourt. So I do research before I utter words. So I just want to see how your question and answer goes, because already you're criticizing me already. The same pattern every Jewish claim, that victim setting. But I want us to see how this goes. You've
How did
already
I
called me
criticize you?
Black
How did I
Hitler.
criticize
You've
you?
called me names. You've called me names. You've called me Black Hitler. You've called me blah 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 blah. But it's fine. I want us to just
I
continue,
only
and
called you
I'll
Black Hitler, not
hopefully.
names. Only Black Hitler, and there's a reason for that, and we're going there. Okay? So,
Thanks for propaganda as well. But
all right.
I just want to listen to your question and see how, to my knowledge and understanding, how I will be able to,
Mhm. All right.
make
So, you have not visited Iran, and you said do you have friends in Iran?
No, I do not.
You do not. Okay. So now, why do you have this feeling, the feeling you have? Okay, is it a feeling of hate? Is it indifference? What is this feeling?
No, let's take it like this. Probably you're misquoting most of my text or my post, you understand. Let's take it from history. That kind of person. I'm not a religious person. I'm not a Muslim, neither am I a Christian, neither am I a traditionalist. I can just call myself a naturist or a Pan-Africanist generally, you understand? And due to my wide study, knowledge, understanding about life, at this age, I've grown enough to know what is good and what is bad. You understand? Every adult should know that. It's only kids who direct and say, hey, don't do this. And they will be afraid not to do that until they get to some certain age. And they try it and they'll go like, but why mom said I shouldn't do this? There's nothing here. So I've gone to that stage. I'm in that stage now where I understand. I've realized due to my research, my study, and all that, I've learned to understand many things that have been portrayed to be true end up being lied. You understand? So that alone, I think every individual should self-taught. Leave your education, leave the school study alone. Teach yourself. Go out, wonder how things work this way. Observe things, do research. I'm coming up with a book soon, but I pray God push me because South Africa is a slow motion country, but we'll get there. So I just want to listen to your questions and see how I can
No, it's
answer
in the
you.
process. You are already answering. I started it already. Now you said,
Okay.
yeah. You said that you've come to the understanding that everything that you thought were true are lies. How did you
Yeah.
come to this understanding?
Like I said earlier on, studies and research, self-study, self-research, you understand?
Where did you
Makes you
research these
understand.
things? In books?
Books, obviously, everything comes from book, and wisdom, knowledge, understanding will let you see how life works and say, is it normal for things to be this way, obviously? Just like the case of Israel and what is happening in Gaza.
All right.
It didn't start in October
Yeah,
7th.
yeah,
We all
wait,
know that.
wait, wait, wait. We'll go into that. All right. You said you got your knowledge and your eye opening from books. You are not a, yeah, you say you do not believe in Christianity, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born and I raised in a Christian home. I've been there. You
All
understand?
right. And the Bible, is it a book?
Yeah, it's just like book, like every other book. There's
All
nothing
right.
spiritual
Very
about it.
good. You said that. It's just like every other book. How is it that you became more knowledgeable? The eyes of your understanding became open because you read books. But some other person reading the Bible and you discount the person. Why is it that you are discounting or discrediting people who are reading Bible, a book to get
No.
understanding, whereas you get knowledge from books? So what's the difference between
Oh, okay.
those books and the Bible?
Yeah, let's come to this understanding is that, in most of my colleagues, most of my brilliant colleagues in school, then my classmates in school who was smart. I know someone who studied chemical engineering, and all that. Because of the situation in Nigeria, they end up becoming pastors. 95% of my smart friends end up becoming pastor. We argue many times on Facebook or whenever we gather for a cup of tea. You understand? I understand why most of them are being forced into that due to the situation of Nigeria. You can't expect a neuroscientist becoming a doctor, and they're becoming a pastor. It's absurd. And talking about reading, there are books that have been written before Bible. There are many books, you understand, that's been authored before Bible, you understand. Lots of books that if you're lucky or fortunate to come across either one and you go through them and you compare them to what you've studied or read in your Bible so far, you go like, oh wow, yeah. It's not counting. Then it is led for yourself to isolate yourself and give yourself this self-actualization to understand what is going on. Am I living by the script, or I want to live by me, Olarewaju, or by me, Crackhead? You understand? Am I making my decision, or is God that is making decision for me? So you get to that understanding. Let me tell you, the confused thing about life is the world, they view spirituality to cover many people's eyes. You understand? Because 95% of human beings seek spirituality.
Yeah, but I can say that is not because of the book. It's because people decide to misuse the book. For example, you read books and became enlightened. There are people that will read those same books you read, and instead of becoming enlightened, they become evil. They become something else with that same book. They twist
Mm.
that knowledge that is supposed to enlighten them to something else. And for your friends, you say that you studied together, and because of the situation, they ended up being pastors. Even if they are pastors right now, and they decide to misuse, like we see fake pastors in
No,
Nigeria.
they are not. You try
No,
to
no, I'm just
understand me.
giving you
Not
an
that
instance.
they are not misusing
Yeah,
it. You
the
understand?
reason,
They are confusing themselves. You understand?
okay, the reason a lot of people do not believe in Christianity anymore is because of the acts of certain people in the Christendom. But that doesn't mean that the book itself that was written for Christianity is wrong or is a bad book.
First of all, let's talk about that book. That book is written by over four authors or so
More
in the
than
span of
more than
over
40.
more than 40 authors. Sorry, my mind. More than 40, if I'm correct. And it's written within the space time of 1,200 years. It's a different knowledge book being compiled by some certain group of people. Who compiled it? Who did God speak to compile the book, the Bible? I'm talking about both the Bible and Quran. You understand? The same thing applies to Quran, how it's been written and how it's been compiled with the other hadith and all that. So you get to understand that this is a book like a manifesto, like a constitution for some certain group of people. Had they been our ancestors, the black, they do that, but when they walk in, they demolish lots of, like the Library of Alexandria, lots of black books, like if you go to Egypt now, most of the statues you see, the nose is no longer there because, it's been scraped out. So you won't know it's a certain race who built this monument and empire. During the conquest, they make sure they burn every of our enlightened book. Like Cleopatra wrote several books. Anu wrote several books. Great men like that in Egypt who are black like you and I, who were residing there. And it comes to the realization, after you study the Bible and you go through the story of the Israelites and all that, you get to realize that what white people do, that complexion, during that time, I don't think they can survive in Middle East with that complexion they have now. They can only survive now because of the amenities provided. Imagine a white guy like Netanyahu living in Israel 2,000 years ago. You know how scorched the weather was then. You can see by history and all that, how the temperature is then. You think that weather, that place is for white. Just like this, is it Egyptian president says, I do not recognize this Jewish. They left as black. They came back white. So that such statement will make you want to go on your own research and you do your own readings and say, why did
Now,
this man utter such?
when you talk about research, just like you think or you feel that they lie to us about the real, like who the real Israelites were, whether they were white or black. All right, let's assume they lied to us. They told us they are white, and you made your research that they weren't white, they were black. Why? Because of the weather. You quote the scorching weather as an example. Okay. Now,
And many other reasons.
and many other reasons. The same way you think they lied to us, don't you think that they could have also lied to you? Why is it that you said based on research? Because you were not there 5,000 or 2,000 years ago. You made research, and those research you made were in the form of books. And whenever books are written, just like you said, more than 40 authors wrote the Bible and they compiled it, there is something we call proofreading. It doesn't matter what kind of an author, somebody has to proofread your book and take out certain things that, okay, this one, don't put this line, don't make this statement, and something like that. So the books you read to get enlightened, understand that they were also proofread. So why do you feel that yours is right and this other one is wrong?
I'm not saying mine is right. Let me tell you what led me, why I started going on this, my revolutionary track. I've seen too many Muslims trying to preach to people to come back to their religion. I've seen too many Christians doing same, you understand? The only religion in the whole world that will not force you to come into their religion or their culture, except if you like by yourself, you go. It's African spirituality. Let me make an example for you. You crackhead now. You discovered a place filled with gold. And you have to take this gold and enrich yourself. You think you come back and call, aside from your immediate family, you just come back and announce to people and say, hey, there is gold there, let us go and pack this gold, without satisfying yourself first. So that's just like the story of heaven and hell that's been sold to us. Let me ask you this question, please, before I continue, because I have many more things to say, but I don't know how long time we have. Do you believe in heaven and hell?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. As a father, you gave birth to your son. You already know what he will become tomorrow. In a form of punishment, are you going to prepare a place for him for eternal punishment if he messed up? Whereas you put him in a situation where, in a place where that is more powerful than him, because we all know, according to the spiritual book, Satan is with God like this one-on-one before it comes to us. Okay, let's do it this way. As a father, you have a son, and you know about your son, you know his way of life. Are you going to condemn your son if he makes error? In as much as you've given him access to ask for forgiveness, and he made error, and the day you come unexpectedly, you met your son doing what he's not supposed to be doing in the room. Probably you say, hey, Junior, don't you ever touch this fan again. And Junior, you come in unexpectedly and you saw Junior playing with the fan. Are you going to take Junior? I live in a 2-story apartment. Are you going to take Junior and throw Junior away from the balcony, or you condemn him forever? So The point is that no father, no
No, no, no.
reasonable
Wait,
God.
wait, wait. Don't make your point. You asked me a
No, no,
question, right? Let me answer
yeah,
your
yeah,
question.
Okay.
All right.
Let me hear you.
And is this
No
question?
reasonable God, no reasonable father will tarnish
Wait.
Woto's.
No, no, no. Don't say that because, again, first of all, you are using a human perspective to judge who God or how God should act. All right. Now,
Now,
answering,
that's
wait, wait.
this
Answering your question as a
spirituality. This
father.
spirituality aside, you and I, we do not understand
Okay.
spirituality.
All right. Okay.
When you
Let me answer your question. All right. If when I gave birth to my son, okay, and I told my son, don't do this. The day you do this, you will die. Now, what that thing I told him not to do, all right, already had its consequence before he was born. So it's not me killing him because he did that thing. It already had its consequence. It's there. The day you do this, you will die. Just like telling your son, the day you drive speed, you will die. The day you maybe
and
smoke igbo.
and your son drive speed and end up not dying. So
Wait,
what are you gonna do? You're
wait,
still gonna be
wait.
angry
Again,
with
that
him.
is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. If your son doesn't die today because he drove speed, one day somehow speed might kill him. So for the fact that I say you die doesn't mean you die instantly. So hell is not because you committed sin. Hell is a consequence of the sin you commit that your father told you if you do it, you will end up here. And then there is a choice. Don't do it. So this is why we have free will. So hell is not a punishment, but it's a consequence of the bad things we do. So it's not like the father
It
knows.
still boils down to law of nature. If you do good, you see good. If you do bad, you see bad. It boils down to law of nature. I don't believe there is a place prepared for a sinner, so-called sinner. How you guys call it? Prepared for a sinner that you will be
First
condemned
of
and
all,
born eternity. And there is a
First
place
of all,
special.
hell wasn't prepared for sinners. Hell was prepared for Satan. You see, this is the
Why?
issue. This is
Why?
the
Now you're explaining the Bible to your own understanding. Not every theologians see things in your own perception. Do you understand that?
just like you read
I've been
books.
to different churches. Their explanation it's different. They only
Exactly.
explain to their understanding because they were not there
At the end of the
when
day,
this.
at the end of the day, you are enlightened because of what you read. That is your enlightenment. Other people do not agree with your enlightenment. So I am also enlightened with what I read, and it may not agree with you, but the end goal is, yeah, the end goal is this enlightenment leading me to hate? That's what we're talking about here. So now coming back to Israel, why do you have these feelings towards them? Because this is the main reason we're
Okay.
here.
Yeah, thank you. That's the basic. It still comes with a question. Do you think truly, according to your Bible, the Jews are choosing one? They're special people to God.
No, first of all, on Woota made me ask you, don't ask me a question. I just answered your question because there was a point I wanted
Okay.
to make.
You
But
say
again,
what is my problem with
irrespective,
the Israel?
okay, let's ask it, let's say it this way. Irrespective, if the Israelis that are here today are the same Israelites that you say were black, irrespective, doesn't matter. Just forget about
Yeah.
the color. So is it
Okay.
right? Or why do you have the feelings you have towards the people that live here right now, even if they are not the real
Okay. Yeah.
Israelites to you?
Okay. Yeah. Let me make you understand. Actually, my feelings is not actually with the people of Israel, except with the Zionists, with their system of government. I'm not against the people of Israel. I know many Europeans claim to be Jew. They were legalized as Jew. I understand that. I don't know. There are different people there. I can see protests coming out from Israel, people who do not support what Netanyahu is doing. Many protests, even inside Israel there. So my problem is not with the Israelite or the Israel. My problem is that what is their problem? Since they've emerged in the Bible, since the so-called escape from the land of Egypt, they've been fighting wars. They've been killing, plundering, killing, destroying up to this generation. They've killed more people than Hamas, Hezbollah, every terrorist organization put together. They've destroyed life. They've ruined people. If you follow history from 1947, when this partition, whatever, the two-state thing and all that. Since then, they've been killing, my brother. Go check statistic. How many, if the so-called terrorists, they say someone come with a whatever vest, that's how they portray terrorists, and it comes in between 6-7 people and blast that 6-7 people and he killed himself. Then do you go back there and kill 20,000 people because of one person?
Listen,
is that love for your people?
All right.
So the sense is that the Israelis, the Jewish or whatever the Israelis they call themselves, they've caused way more damage. I was going through these AIPAC, whatever lobbyists in American politics and all that. And I found out that these people, they penetrate, they've gone far. They're just about war, territory.
Now let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Yeah, you've talked about how many thousand they've killed more. Do you know how many Hamas have killed?
Where they killed? Where in Israel?
Yes. Do you know how many Hamas have killed?
Obviously, the Israel, they have calculated. Whenever people die, whenever an incident happens and mass killed, there is always a body count.
Yeah. Do you know how many?
So far, all terrorist organizations put together.
No. I'm asking you a simple question. Do you know how many?
I might not have a total figure, bro. I might not have a total figure because I know Hamas and all that. They are revolutionary fighters. They are fighting for the liberation of the Palestinian people. If Israel let Palestinian people free today, Hamas, Hezbollah, and every other network you're saying, they will cease to exist.
All right, let me ask you.
They are the ones sponsoring ISIS in Syria.
Yeah, you say you do not have the total figure, or you may not know the total figure, how many Hamas have killed.
Then much as Israel killed.
Okay, how were you there when Israel killed? You do not have the total figure, but you are certain of a whole many Israel have killed. Is that not biased? And talking about no, wait, listen. In Hamas's case, you do not have a total figure, but with Israel, you will talk with so much conviction as if you were there or as if you are in this country. Now, talking about Palestine, when I make this video, I'm going to post a picture where I am in Bethlehem with their soldiers. Okay. Yeah, with their soldiers. All right, in Bethlehem. And that is where we here, at least that's why I started by asking if you've been in Israel. That is where we know to be controlled by Palestinian Authority. I know a lot of you maybe do not know, or you know, but you still want to claim ignorance that there's difference between Palestinian Authority that is in West Bank and there is Gaza. And the Palestinian Authority, all right, where you have the Palestinians, where people are saying free Palestine, it's peaceful. I can go there as a foreigner. Every other foreigner can go there. It's peaceful. Like I said, you're going to see the picture, but in Gaza, I cannot ever cross. I cannot even think of going there. All right. So when you guys, now, why is Gaza? All right, I want to ask you a question. Yeah, I didn't finish. So if you think that Israel is causing problems and Hamas is only revolting, why is it that the people in the Palestinian Authority in Bethlehem that I have been are not fighting against why is Hamas in Gaza fighting against Israel? Why is the Palestinian Authority not fighting, but Hamas is fighting?
Listen, Hamas is the armed wing for the liberation of Palestinian people. We all know that. You should know that. Okay, tell me, how was Hamas found? How did they become? You understand? We see how the organization started.
Do you understand that Hamas?
It's because of the government.
Do you understand that Hamas is a government?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They are government wing, but the military wing of the liberation of the PLO. Let's say Hamas is more like the military wing of the PLO, just like Hezbollah in Lebanon and all that. We know that. What I'm saying, bro, listen, I wanted to understand one thing.
Before you continue, have you listened to Son of Hamas? Do you know who Son of Hamas is?
Bro, those are propagandas.
Wait. You see now, when it comes from the side that you should listen to, is propaganda. Why? Because you are stuck to your narrative.
I have listened and I've seen so many debunks. People have debunked it, you understand? I may not have it up, but I've listened on my laptop while at work. I've gone through many debunk about this son of Hamas thing. But let me tell
But
you
do you know what
what's
son of Hamas told somebody like you? His quote, he said, if you are not from Gaza, if you are not from Palestine, if you are not even around this neighbor, you have no right to say if he's lying or telling you the truth. That was why I asked, do you have friends in Iran? So how can you say that somebody who is the son of the person who started Hamas is propaganda? How can you even think of saying that? Whereas he
bro?
told you, somebody like you, if
Do
you are
you know that
not, if we're
the
not
people in
born
Iran,
there,
listen, bro, the people in Iran, do you know they have peace? They have more peace than the Israelite, the people living in Israel. Do you know that? Do you know that there is more better life in Iran than the Israel you're saying? Do you know?
you
Do you
telling
know
me
that
we are
people
not
in Iran,
debating that.
you're trying to, I'm trying to let you understand where the aggression is coming from, not Israel. It's the Zionist movement. They have an agenda to conquer land. The project is there since 1960 something. They've been planned. If you look at the Israeli badge, you see the map, their military badge. You see the map, the plan. That's why last time I told you, I said, they're still going to Jordan. We all know that this Jordan king is a puppet. He was installed there. People know that. But they're still going there. They will take his land from him. They're still going far. So what should they give them the whole Middle East, or what is their problem? What has been, if you check the major war that the Israelites have been
Israel,
fighting is about land. Do you
Israel
know?
does not
All
want
their
the
wars
whole
from
Middle
the
East.
Bible and all that. It's about
Israel
land.
doesn't want the whole Middle East. They just want to be left in peace. Okay?
Why do
Now,
they want to be left in peace? Why are they going to attack people? They are the one
all right.
fighting out.
Okay.
Why they went to listen? Let me tell you something. What I wanted to understand: the killings and the assassins that the IDF and Mossad that they've carried out on this earth, bro. The dignitaries, they like the high profile, the high ranking officials they've killed on this all over the world. No Israel high rank official has been killed like that
Bro,
before.
why are you in South Africa again? Remind me.
Why we all know why we travel out of our country? Why are you in Israel?
Now, the reason I'm asking is because the reason
Why are
I'm
you
asking
in
this
Israel?
question is this. The reason I'm asking this question is this. Okay. Recently, was it last year or early this year when there was the Miss Africa or Miss World Beauty pageant where the Nigerian girl, there was a problem. You understand? And you've lived in South Africa. I don't know if you've lived there in the time of the xenophobia that happened, I think, a few years ago. Okay.
I've experienced all those xenophobia attack.
Okay.
I even lost property
You
during
were
one
not
the last one.
here. You were not here in Israel in 2015, where people, in fact, blacks, were being stabbed on the streets here in Israel. I don't know if you heard that news. You were not here. That was in
I've
two.
read that.
Okay.
I
All
saw
right.
it on the internet.
Good. Now, with all these things happening, do you just prefer that Israel opens their border because we're peaceful people, so that people like you would shut up to say, why are they killing people? Would they just keep quiet? And also, if you talking about dignity and talking about why they're doing this, all right, what is happening right now? Okay, Hamas, you have 50 hostages. Can you release them? Son of Hamas said, if Hamas would release hostages, this war would have ended a long time ago. What is stopping Hamas from releasing these 50 people?
Bro, if you think this war is
No, I'm
about the
asking a
hostage,
simple question. Forget about if this war is about hostages or not hostages. All right?
what
Let's
is the
just
question?
face
Don't
this
fight.
answer. Why is
Yeah.
Hamas, or what is stopping Hamas from releasing? Okay, why not release the hostages? Then let people like you see if Israel will continue the aggression or not.
They've killed over 57,000. They are shooting children every day.
Bro,
Little children on the head. Snipers, guys that have never been to war before, stay on a building, killing children, bro. Have you seen it?
bro, again, with I don't know where you are getting this narrative from, because I asked you a simple question. Why
No,
didn't they recently?
no,
Wait,
no,
wait,
it,
wait, wait, wait. If
it's a
you
fact, bro.
think,
No, it's a fact. I can send you some link. It's a
bro,
fact. It's a concrete fact. How
it
many
is
people
it is
has been
not
killed in
fact.
Gaza? How is the killed
In
daily?
fact, before this, we said you're not going to be talking about what you read or what you saw because you were not there. All right, because
No,
everything
no,
you
bro,
don't believe.
bro, bro, bro. I'm surprised you're supporting this genocide act. I'm surprised you're
No, 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 no.
most
It's
Israel,
not.
most
It's
Jewish are
not.
like that.
Listen,
Like the life of the
listen.
Gaza doesn't make sense to you because of some group of Hamas. They're killing kids. You mean children? And I'm
Bro,
27,000
were
children,
you
bro.
there? That's the question. Don't say I'll send you
Bro,
facts.
it's my
Are
thing,
you
bro.
there?
It's been covered by all international news. Were you here when the issue about the Miss Nigerian lady happened, the Miss South African? You were not there, but you can say it on the media.
Yeah, but
Is that
again,
not
I'm
how
not
you
saying
got
it's
it
a
before?
fact. Did I ever say
Bro,
it's a fact?
bro. Okay, why was Netanyahu? Why was he convicted in the international? Why is
I
it?
asked you a question. Why has Hamas refused to release these hostages? And let's see whether it will end or not.
Let me give you an analogy. There was a village in somewhere in River State. I think it's Okrika or somewhere in River State, where like bunch of armies, about 16 armies or so or more, they went to that village. And I think mistakenly, they killed like 2 youth leaders in that village. And the youth in that village, they rise up and they killed those armies. You understand? Obasanjo was in power then. Few weeks later, you can do this research. Few weeks later, Obasanjo sent battalions of soldiers there. That village was razed to the ground. I saw horror. I was serving then. I witnessed horror. I see what arms, what soldiers, what war can cause. I see little children, how people can be blind. So what I'm trying to say is that decision that Obasanjo took because of those few armies that was killed and he raised the whole village down, was it justifiable? It was on international community criticize it, but the story left that. What I'm saying is that Gaza, like a whole city, a whole town, even if it's a town, has been razed to the ground, bro. Are you guys getting footage from
Bro,
that
you
place?
say has been
Has
raised
been
to the ground.
razed, bro.
If it was
More
raised
than
to the
10,000
ground,
buildings. More than 10,000 buildings. You mean everybody there, they are terrorists?
bro, if it was raised, that's what I'm saying is because somebody like you, do not know the truth. I live here, all right, and
What is the truth?
listen,
What
listen.
justifies
Do
killing,
you
bro?
know? Do you think that everybody in Gaza is supporting Hamas? There are people.
No, obviously, not that I'm in support of Hamas, but I'm saying with the
All right.
atrocities that the IDF has committed.
Do you believe that Hamas are using children and kids as human shield?
Never.
But you did get involved in some violent activities, and you were arrested when you were just 10 years old by the Israeli police. So you must have done something.
I mean, I was a troublemaker as a youngster. It was during the first Palestinian Intifada, and I was hanging Palestinian flags all over the place. I remember I would go into my mother's kitchen. I would take the towels, kitchen towels. I would take like green, white, black, red, and just take a scissor and thread it myself, then hang it to just piss off the IDF.
I see.
And I just would create like a big scene in the town. It was very exciting for me to just clash with the IDF and cause lots of trouble. I threw lots of stones on Israeli vehicles coming into the West Bank. Of course, I didn't realize how terrifying was that, but because the entire society is praising the Intifada, why not to join in the cause? So I participated in the cause at a very, very young age. And this is why when I see the indoctrinated fanatics today, and I just see a projection of my past, how I was just, I got a couple of ideas that they were not original, validated by a majority of society, and I almost got killed or hurt in the process. And I hurt so many people. Throwing stones at civilian vehicles, this was not an act of resistance. It's terrifying. There were some women and children in those vehicles. I mean, like, I'm not saying it like in the sense of guilt, but like this is the rule of like even a child is very, very dangerous. If a car is driving, let's say, at 50 miles per hour, and they had children, and then you hit the front windshield, I don't want to be in that car. It doesn't matter if it was a child throwing the stone or adult, it doesn't matter. So I did this a lot. and eventually, some of those Israelis trapped me, and they knew me actually because I was there just causing trouble on a daily basis, and they took me into the back of the car to a military base. And I have to say that this experience at the age of 10 left me wondering, because first of all, they did not like lay hand on me. They did not.
Right.
They did not. They did not use force. They did not. And when I got to the military base, the IDF were like, what the heck are you doing? And they were just communicating in Hebrew, like this little thing, it's causing lots of trouble. He's the one been throwing stones on a regular basis. We had to bring him. And the IDF were like, you must be out of your mind. Like from just their expression. They totally rejected that, and they thought, it's like, we cannot, he's 10 years old. So now the soldiers are looking at me, and how can they teach me a lesson? So they said, why did you do this? In a broken Arabic. And I was just terrified. Are they going to shoot me? Are they going to beat me up? Because I'm coming from a culture where everybody beat me up. The parents, the principal, the sheikh at the mosque, everyone. So I'm expecting that those guys are going to beat me up also because I did something wrong, right? But what they said, take off your shoes. I took off my shoes. And they said, walk with us. And they walked me to the gate of the military base. They opened the gate and said, do you know how to get home? And that was maybe like about 2 kilometers from the military base.
That's your punishment.
Yes. And they were said, like, okay, walk home. And don't ever throw stones again. So that was my punishment.
Reasonable.
Very reasonable. I mean, if it was an Arab situation, if I was throwing stones at an Arab car, they would have beat the shit out of me. And this is, by the way, just for me. And when I went home, the entire neighborhood knew that I had been arrested. My mother was crying. She could not believe when she saw me. They thought they're going to shoot me right now or beat me up. And I was just fine. So it just gives you an idea of like the difference between an establishment that follow human rights protocols that cannot violate, even though, let's say, the citizens were just so disturbed by throwing stones. And today, where I stand, I can totally see how bad it was. For a child, it was, okay, this is a habit that everybody's doing. It's part of our culture, not feeling and not seeing how the other side must.
But you're probably still too young to appreciate that they treated you like a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Only
young.
Today I can look back.
Yeah, it didn't.
Now knowing the IDF and knowing the protocol, basically.
Yeah. Now, before you became an agent for Shin Bet, how many times were you sent to jail in Israel? You told us about when you were 10. Were there more times that you spent in jail?
Yes, I was arrested again briefly when I was 15 years old for just one night. I was captured doing Hamas midnight activity, writing graffiti on the walls. We had masks, and there were just other students, like from the Islamic student, participating. So when the IDF found us around midnight, wearing masks, writing graffiti, they just did not realize that we were just kids. So they shoved us into the back of the Jeep, and they took us to the military base. We spent the night there. And in the morning, when the commander came, he found that we were just kids. So they released us again. So this was the second time I would be captured for a few hours and released because I was a minor. Even though I was doing things that an adult would be sentenced to 6 months to 1 year in prison. Just another example from my personal experience that Israel would never target minors, and unless they did something like stabbing. If they really cause injury to someone, then the minor rule does not apply. Later on, I was arrested at the age of 18, but that was not a minor crime. I had purchased guns, and during a time where Hamas was launching many terrorist attacks. So the Shin Bet did not tolerate that, and this is when I was arrested. They didn't know what was my intention, what I wanted to do with the guns, so they arrested me before like I did something
And
crazy.
did they know when they arrested you or they interrogated you that your father was one of the leaders of Hamas?
Of course.
They knew.
Of
They
course.
knew
Well, this was the reason why they were very concerned. Because, first of all, I was under their watch. And when I start behaving strangely, hanging out with some Hamas dangerous people, going to different towns and smuggling weapons, this became a red flag that I don't think the Israeli intelligence would have tolerated.
And did they interrogate you? Did they try to turn you into
Yes.
an agent?
Yes, actually, they tried, and I agreed with the sick intention to work for Hamas against Israel.
I see.
This is why I agreed from the beginning. There was no way for the Israeli intelligence to actually turn me against my father, like at least against my father. I don't want to say against the Palestinian people or against Hamas, because my relation with my father was very strong, and I really loved my father. So there was no force on earth would come between me and him. But I thought that would be an opportunity to fool the Israeli intelligence and work for Hamas, bring information. So basically this was, and I thought also this is how I get out of the trouble. They may release me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they think you're working for them.
Yep.
But you took the job not really wanting to work for them. But you did. You started doing some things for Israel. You started giving them information, I assume. And what was the first mission or job that they gave you to do? Once you accepted, I'm going to work for you, what did they have you do?
Well, first of all, it was not as simple as I thought.
Okay.
So they said, you have to go to prison, because if we release you, people will get suspicious and you will be killed.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, you go to prison. And that was not in my calculations, in my mega plan.
Yeah, you thought they were going to let you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they end up sending me to prison, where the actual prison was not Israeli prison. It was a Hamas prison. It was a Hamas imprisonment. Because in that facility, Hamas was torturing their own members, Palestinians, brutally, where many people got killed in the process for suspicion of collaborating
Let me
with
make sure I
Israel.
understand. So Israel at that time had two sets of prisons, prisons for ordinary criminals and prisons specifically for Hamas or terrorists. Is that correct?
Israel has, let's say, a criminal section,
Yes.
and has security section.
I see. In the same, okay, it's the same, in the same physical
Some
prison,
prisons might
but
have
they-
like two different sections, but inside the security prison,
Yes.
there are thousands of Hamas members and Fatah and the Public Front, the
I
rest
see.
of the Palestinian political.
And they put you into that prison.
So I was in that prison under Hamas management, because each faction, we're talking about massive prisons, thousands of, like each section would have hundreds of prisoners, giant tents. So in Israel could not, under the waves of so much terrorism, to have a cell for each prisoner.
I see.
When you have to
Arrest hundreds
to
of
deal
people.
with hundreds or even thousands at the peak, like now, what we are dealing with, the October 7, you don't know who's actually involved, so you'll have to take huge numbers of prisoners to actually know the involvement, which one is extremely dangerous, which one is less dangerous. Then you may like separate the less dangerous.
I see. So they weren't in separate cells. They were in like a tent or...
The
okay.
like I say, the very dangerous prisoners, they would be in their own cells, high security prisons. The less dangerous would be in more like open area, like the one I was in, and there would be thousands of them. So in this type of environment, Hamas would control their own prisoners, and they become a mini government. They have Amir, they have leadership, they have ministers, and they have, most importantly, security wing, which was brutal, looking for who gave the information to Israel. So I come into this environment and I tell Hamas, hey guys, I've got a plan. I want to fool the Israeli intelligence. They were like, what are you talking about? I was like, this is what they approached me, and I told them, yes,
Sure.
I have a plan. He said, okay, no problem. They were surprised. Okay, so they said, why didn't you write it? So I wrote. It was literally half a page because there was no mission. There was nothing. And when I sent it to the other side, and they had their way of communicating with the other sections of the security wing, the response came back negative. Is that it? With a big question mark. And I was like, yes, this is it. But now they weren't convinced.
Even though you were the son of
one of the founders
leaders.
of,
You're right.
yes. So on one hand, they did not believe me, but on the other hand, they did not want to torture me because they could not, even though they tortured so many people for much less. So here I am telling them, I literally have a relationship with the Israeli intelligence, but not for the purpose of treason. I would never, betray my father. But they wanted more information. Like my story did not suit them. They did not suit their narrative. And this is where things went really bad between me and Hamas. So for about 16 months, and by the way, I revealed the information from the early beginning, like the first week of my arrival. I had to live 16 months with monsters killing and torturing people brutally, being a suspect, a son of a top Hamas leader. But in the meantime, they did not believe me, and it was a very, very strange relationship. Are they going to torture me? I mean, people were screaming out loud all the time. So for me, it was a nightmare for 16 months. This is what most people don't understand, what it was like to be a suspect, honorable Hamas member.
Right.
At the same time.
Right.
They had so many privileges. And of course, the rest of prisoners, they had no clue what was going on. I just told them the truth. That's it. And the truth was not sufficient. It was not enough. They wanted a different narrative that would satisfy their ego. So anyway, I did not like these people. In fact, I hated them so much for what they did to so many prisoners. And I was wondering how many people were actually innocent people. Because if they're not believing my narrative, even though I'm just an open book, I told them the truth. How many people actually, they could be innocent and they've been tortured because they did not have the support I had. And this is where things psychologically start changing between me and Hamas. Now, it didn't stop here. When I was released from prison, and of course I was not tortured, you can say I was more of like a mentally tortured.
Yeah.
When I was released from prison, Hamas followed up outside the prison. They literally came to my house, and that was part of the Hamas security wing. And they were like, we just want to follow up. Did the Israeli intelligence approach you? Did they want to follow up? I was like, no, they didn't. They said, okay, you keep us just posted. And I was like, what the heck? Am I going to just live the rest of my life like their bitch? They're going to just hold this against me for the rest of my life? What's this? And my father was still in prison, high security prison. So he wasn't in that prison to protect me, and he was not outside prison to protect me. And this is when the Israeli intelligence came, approached me during that time.
In prison or outside?
Outside prison. That was actually the thing, that they said, in prison, you just behave yourself, just be normal. We have nothing for you to do in prison.
Yeah.
And now you will be surprised also what they told me outside prison. So when I went to the meeting, I just wanted to tell the Israeli intelligence, please leave me alone, because I did not want things to get more complicated. Hamas is after me. They were after me in prison, and now they're after me outside prison. Things are getting dangerous, and I cannot convince these people that I was joking. But how can I get out now out of the because I had promised the Israeli intelligence to work, so I felt like cut up, and I was only 19 years old in that situation. So in the meeting, the Israeli intelligence officer they were very warm, and they were very nice. It's something that I did not actually expect. And they asked me, how was the experience in prison? I told them, people were dying. Why didn't you come to rescue the people who were supposedly working for you? And they said, none of these people work for us. So what do you mean? I said, none of these people work for us. And the officer told me, listen, I have been working with the Shin Bet for 18 years. There is only one person from our division, the entire district of Ramallah, that was captured. And this is his name. Even he mentioned his name. His name is Khadr Tannous. And this guy, he told me, where he is right now? He's in California. He said when he was arrested, the Israeli Prime Minister called Yasser Arafat and offered him some value that I cannot discuss with you, to just hand him to Israel. And Khadr was handed immediately to Israel. And we just put him on a plane, and now he's in California. Do you think we let our people suffer? We don't come to help the people who help us? That's not what we do. But he said all these people in prison, they're just innocent people. And Hamas is frustrated. They don't know we give the information. They're killing their own people. Why are we supposed to stop them? Now, this is where it hit me, because I already had a feeling. And from a personal experience, I know these people were accountable to nobody. They were just torturing people out of frustration. They were not following any criteria or logic or any of that. So anyway, long story short, I was like, what if the Israeli intelligence telling me the truth about my father's organization? We are in deep trouble.
They are being portrayed like that. You cannot give me any evidence that justify your claim. Never.
And they find themselves fighting an enemy that uses the same tactics as Al-Qaeda in Iraq and the Taliban in Afghanistan.
They use human shields. They attempt to lure us to kill their civilian population. It's a common theme among Islamist extremist groups in this world.
Colonel Richard Kemp commanded British ground troops in Afghanistan. He refutes the claim that Israel has committed war crimes.
Everything I've seen would suggest to me that Israel is not committing a war crime. Far from it. Israel is going further than most other countries in this world would go to prevent the loss of innocent civilian life. The people that are committing the war crimes are Hamas, who are both firing rockets into the Israeli civilian population indiscriminately and also using their own people as human shields. That is a war crime. Hamas want the Israeli Defense Force to kill their children, their women, their civilians. That's what they want to happen. They want to get the propaganda.
During this Iran and Israel war, I can see some rockets coming out of Israel community, interceptors. They're coming in between buildings. Not that they were isolated outside the city. They were coming in between buildings. Interceptors.
First of all, there's no iron dome. There is no iron dome that is in between. In fact, if iron dome was in between building, in fact, that's whoever installed that iron dome. There's no iron. We don't even know where iron dome is. That's one. Okay, so no rocket.
I'll do that research again, and I'll tag you in that video. I want you to debunk it.
I
saw it on CNN. It's on CNN. You debunk it. I'll go back and search for it, and I'll tag you.
Listen,
then I want you to
again.
Me otherwise.
You see that is the thing, because anybody can come around, make videos, maybe something you saw and match it, just like Iran. I know somebody like you. I know somebody like you. I know somebody like you believes Iran shot down 2 Israeli fighter jets, right?
No, there's no evidence to prove that, so I can't say that. You understand? There is no justice. Okay, let me ask you one question. Do you think the war waged against Iran recently was about the nuclear? You think it's about warhead?
It's about that.
War.
It's about that. It's about
you don't think you don't think it's against the law. There is a scientist that was killed. He was inside with his wife and children.
It's about that.
He was sent to his house. A scientist. Wife and
I don't care, all right, what you say. It's about that.
No, I'm not trying to convince you to care or to. I know every Israelite due to your medias, it's more like religion, you know.
But again,
Your brains there.
this is why I
You can't
asked
take
you in the
that because
beginning if you've
you,
ever visited Israel. You said no. And I understand where you come from. Me, just like I cannot, if I see anything like, let's say, the xenophobia that is going on in South Africa, you are the better person, if you want to analyze, to talk about it. I can say
bro,
there are facts.
South Africa has even issued the arrest of Netanyahu. You know, International Criminal Court, they've called for his arrest.
Again,
Even in his country,
I'm talking
he's
about my
facing criminal
experience
charges.
versus.
I'm not talking about, listen, I'm not talking about Israel now. I'm talking about the Zionist movement, a bunch of killers ruling
What do you mean?
Israel.
First of all, I didn't say anything about Zionist because to you, I don't know, or to anybody, Zionist is Israel. But anyways, to conclude this,
I don't want Mossad to come knock on your door tomorrow.
no. They will not come as long as this is in line with how would I call it? In line with free speech. Israel not free speech.
I mind what I say. There are some utterances that I'm supposed to utter, but because I'm trying to sit on your call, you are not in a democratic state. They don't really practice democracy there. So I know what they can do.
You see, that is what you are sitting in South Africa and you're saying that. You see, that's the issue. There was one time, I don't know if you didn't follow us then, when there was a protest. Yes, you were right in one thing you said, that there is internal conflict here. There are internal conflicts everywhere. I used to make a video every Saturday, the protest that is going on in Tel Aviv. And there was one video I made where they boldly wrote, Netanyahu is a buyer on the banner. All right, they wrote Netanyahu is a banner. And I even made a video. I said, crack, I see waiting. Person fit try this, as in for protest ground, very big like this. Person fit try this kind one for Nigeria. That's what I see evidence of democracy. They can only talk and make noise. The only reason police are there is so that if there's riot, they can know how to calm it. But when you sit in South Africa and say there is no democracy, as in, I just can't understand. I'm here. Forget about whether I'm supporting Israel or not, but there are some things that are true that, okay, maybe just like you said, if I was in Nigeria making this video, maybe them for come for me. Yeah. But I'm here. You can't be in South Africa based on what you've read or seen or things and say there's no democracy here. That's not right. Which leads me to conclude.
Bro, I want us to clarify one thing. Are you trying to tell me that what is happening in Gaza is not genocide?
It is not. If you have decided to be in South Africa,
I understand that.
You can understand. But if you decide, because you are in South Africa and you were not here witnessing the stabbings here.
The world is small now. We are in a global world now. The world is so small.
Yeah, it is.
I understand why you're being biased. You're married to a Jewish
woman. No. This is one thing. But in a law court, if you are to argue this thing logically, I would win. Let me tell you why I would win. Let me tell you why I would win. Because I live in a country where the things are happening. All right. And I'm talking about it. If me or any other Nigerian living in Israel had a discussion, it would be differently. But some other person who hasn't been to Gaza, who hasn't been to Bethlehem, who hasn't stepped his foot in Israel, in South Africa, which we all know that the country doesn't like Israel. So of course I would understand. So it is okay, because sometimes in life
we can see what is going on in Gaza. Even between the 12 days war, over 700 and something people were killed in Gaza because they're scrambling for food. You see how they've been treated. Okay, people want to come in through Egypt, humanitarians want to come in, they deprive them. Yeah, bro, I'm surprised you're saying this.
All right, you say they deprive them of humanitarian aid. Do you know, or did you read that Israel is also providing aid in Gaza? Did you read that one somewhere?
They're using to lure them, to trap them, to kill them. Are you see what is going on if they're going for food?
All right.
Can you see what is going on? Okay, let me make you understand. The people of Gaza, they don't want humanitarian aid. They don't. They are humans. I've experienced suffering. I've seen things. They are humans. Kids are dying every day. Kids are dying. There was a video I saw, a whole, far as the eyes can see, everything has been raised to the ground. Do you know amount of bomb that have been dropped on Gaza?
Bro,
Times
again,
3 of what was used in Hiroshima.
No,
bro.
what you're telling me.
I don't want to convince you that I'm trying to tell you what we are saying from outside.
All right,
Yeah,
that's the difference.
Depriving you from so many information.
You see, that's the difference. What?
I know that they do that.
Yeah,
they deprive you of many information.
I know you say,
but bro, we are outside. We can see. I wish there are other people on this platform for them to verify. I don't want to make
let me ask you this final question.
I'm trying to say the government now, the government of Israel. You want to ask? Okay, I'll listen. Let you speak.
All right, I want to ask you one final question. At any point in time, let me not say Iran, because it's not the whole of Iran. At any point in time, did Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said he wants to annihilate Israel, wipe Israel from the face of the earth? Yes or no?
Bro, you know, that has always been the problem.
You asked me a question. You asked me a question. You wanted me to yes or no?
Yeah. Okay. No.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So this is where we come to the end. This is where we come. This is
down with Israel, down with America, not debt to Israel, not debt to America. I hope I get you clear. Go and do your research.
That is the end of the.
That Khamenei guy is a peaceful guy. If he's an honorable guy, he will keep on with this war. He will continue with this war. He is a peaceful guy.
Thank you very much.
Black America, they didn't achieve their aim. The nuclear plant is still functioning.
All right, thank you very much, guys. You heard from Black Hitler. now you understand why I called him Black Hitler, because just like Hitler, he thinks Israel should not exist, and he thinks
that don't let the Messiah
Israel
right to exist.
No, he thinks Israel should not exist, and he thinks that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, and he thinks and thinks and thinks. But when somebody keeps thinking, you don't know when you are overthinking. That was why I kept asking him if he has been here in Israel, because I think if you're not from a particular place,
I do not have to be there.
If you're not from a particular country, if you do not have friends in that place, now in Gaza, and you base all your sources on the information you hear, meanwhile criticizing other sources on information, then I do not understand how legit that is.
There's no tangible source. You connect me to anything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for hosting me. Thank you so much for hosting me. I really enjoyed my time with you.
You're welcome.
You're a loving guy, and you love doing your blogs. You understand? I like the way you look. And you be ganja man like me. I respect and appreciate.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.